April 7th, 1991. I want you to just picture the scene. We're in Mohandessin, Cairo, Lebanon Square, to be exact.
Right, a really dense, upscale neighborhood, lots of activity.
Exactly, the kind of place with a constant, city hum. But on this night, that hum is just shattered.
By gunfire, rapid, indiscriminate gunfire.
Security forces get there fast. They swarm this large residential building, and the scene they find inside, it's just chaotic.
It's the apartment of a businessman, Ahmed Mandour. And it's a bloodbath.
His wife and the maid, both dead, shot. A neighbor who must have heard the commotion is wounded.
But the central figure, Mandour himself, he's just gone.
Missing.
In that initial mystery, a high-profile massacre where the main target vanishes, that's the opening chapter of our deep dive today.
This is the story of Ahmed Helmy Elmesiry, a name that would become infamous.
They called him the Mohandessin Butcher. And he wasn't just a killer. He's this embodiment of almost every crime you can imagine, all mixed together.
So the mystery of the missing businessman, it doesn't last long, does it?
No. Miles away, in a place called Ard al-Liwa, they find Mandour's car.
And he's inside.
He's inside, dead. This duality, a targeted killing in one spot, then a brutal massacre back at the apartment, it immediately told investigators this wasn't a simple robbery gone wrong.
And the stakes were incredibly high from the get-go.
Oh, absolutely. The brutality alone would have made front-page news. But the victims, Mandour was a major player. And his wife, she was a relative of Suzanne Mubarak, the first lady at the time.
So the pressure on the police was just immense.
Unbelievable. This became the #1 public opinion case overnight.
So that's our mission here. We need to go beyond the what and get to the why. How does a man born into, extreme privilege and wealth devolve into this kind of calculated, unique killer?
Precisely. We're dissecting the anatomy of a killer who seemed to have every single advantage in life.
Okay, so let's go back to that night. The police are at the apartment. What are the first concrete clues they have to work with?
Well, the place was searched, but it wasn't, random vandalism. It was methodical. And the two women were executed. Close range.
Clinical.
Very. But the real key came from the community. Eyewitnesses. The concierge. Neighbors who saw the assailant running away.
And what did they tell them? What did he look like?
They gave a very, very specific profile. Tall, thin, light-skinned. But the one feature everyone remembered, the thing that stuck in their minds, was his nose.
His nose.
It was strikingly long. And another critical detail, he was impersonating a police officer, a zabit.
So he's not just a killer. He's using the symbol of authority as his cover.
Which shows incredible cunning, premeditation.
But if the description was so unique, the height, the complexion, and especially that nose, why wasn't there an immediate match in the criminal registries?
Because they were looking for the wrong kind of criminal. They ran the description through databases of, burglars, thieves, the usual suspects.
And got nothing.
Came up completely empty. It forced them to realize their killer was likely operating outside of those typical criminal circles.
Which is what leads to the breakthrough. They have to shift focus from the who to the why. They start looking at the victim.
Right. Ahmed Mandour himself, his life, his business, his enemies.
And that leads them to engineer Rafat and his brother.
Yes, former employees. Mandour had apparently betrayed them, reported them for a drug offense, and they ended up in prison. They had a motive, a very strong one.
But it wasn't them.
No, the investigators ruled them out pretty quickly as the actual killers.
Oh.
But they were the key.
So wait, the biggest break in this case? It comes from two guys Mandour himself put in prison. How does that work?
Well, when the police described the killer to them, tall, thin, that long nose.
They knew him.
Immediately. They said it sounded exactly like a man they'd met in prison, an acquaintance named Ahmed. Yes, and get this. While they were all incarcerated together, Rafat and his brother had told Ahmed everything about Mandour, his habits, his wealth, his vulnerabilities. They basically handed him the blueprint for the murder without realizing it.
Unbelievable. So they finally have a name, Ahmed Helmy Elmesiry. They pull his file, and what they find isn't what they expect.
Not at all. The file showed some property crimes, fraud, things like that. But his background, it was just bizarre. This was the son of a retired general. His mother was from a major elite family.
He went to exclusive foreign schools. He was into equestrian sports. This is the life of the 1%.
A life of total material comfort.
So how do you get from that to the Mohandessin Butcher? We have to look at his family life. It sounds like a perfect storm.
It was a structural time bomb. The parents' divorce left him feeling fragmented. His mother was reportedly very cold, distant.
And the father?
His father's approach was this deeply destructive contradiction. He would physically beat Ahmed constantly, supposedly to teach him manners.
But at the same time,
At the same time, he'd shower him with money, cars, anything he wanted, almost to compensate for the abuse and the mother's absence.
that is a recipe for a disaster. Violence mixed with zero consequences.
Absolutely. And you see it in his early delinquency. He starts stealing from classmates, money, school supplies.
But not because he needed it.
Never.
Yeah.
He'd tear up the money. He'd give it to the servants. It was about the act, the transgression, the feeling of power.
Which brings us to that famous incident when he was just 14 with the actress Maha Sabri.
Right. He steals a jewelry bag from her, but when he's caught, his motive is strange. He says it wasn't for the jewelry. He claims it was revenge because she was cruel to her own daughter, who was a friend of his.
So even then, it's not about money. It's about this twisted sense of justice or control.
Exactly. And that was the moment his own family basically wrote him off. They labeled him a failure and corrupt.
And that label must have just fueled everything, especially when his biggest dream gets taken away.
He wanted to be a fighter pilot. More than anything, he applied to the Air Force Academy in 1983.
A perfect outlet for structured aggression.
And his father blocked it. Just blocked the application, no explanation given. It crushed him.
So what happens then?
To save face, to control the damage, the father sends him to live with an aunt in Iraq.
And what's the first thing Ahmed does when he gets there?
He volunteers for the Iraqi army. They're at war with Iran. But he wasn't a patriot. He told people later his only reason for joining was to learn how to use weapons.
And to experience killing.
He saw war as a training ground for his fantasies. He only came back because he found actual combat too complicated, too tedious.
Then he ends up in prison in '86. And this is where his ideas really start to escalate.
That time radicalized him. His fantasies went from simple theft to assassinating politicians, bombing embassies, grand chaotic acts.
And that attempted theft of the AIDS research. That is one of the strangest parts of this entire story.
It's truly mind-boggling. This is right before the Mohandessin murders. He and a friend disguise themselves as police again with that theme and break into the villa of a famous doctor, Ahmed Shafiq.
They tied everyone up, demand the safe key.
But not for money.
Yeah.
He wants the doctor's microfilm, his AIDS research.
For what possible reason?
Who knows? Power, intellectual control. But when the doctor convinces him the important research is stored abroad, Elmesiry just apologizes. He says he's from a secret organization and leaves.
That is profoundly disturbed. He risks everything, not for cash, but for an idea.
It proves his motives were never financial. They were rooted in something far more chaotic.
So after that, his focus snaps back to Hamed Mandoor, the man he learned everything about in prison.
And this time, it's highly premeditated. He tries a simple break-in first. It fails. Mandoor reports it to the police.
And instead of running, Elmesiry sees that police report as an opportunity.
The perfect opportunity. The very next day, he goes back.
Posing as an officer again?
A Mabaheth officer, an investigator. He tells Mandoor he needs him to come to the station to complete the investigation into the attempted break-in from the night before.
And Mandoor, thinking he's helping the police, just gets in the car.
He gets in the car. Elmesiry drives him to a deserted street, shoots him, and leaves him there.
And then he goes back.
He goes back. The job isn't done. He goes back to the apartment, convinces the guard he's still on the case, goes upstairs.
And executes the wife and the maid to eliminate any witnesses.
Exactly. He grabs some items, but the focus is elimination. And when that neighbor sees him, he shoots her too and runs.
And that final act in Lebanon Square, firing into a crowd.
Pure chaos. It was just to create panic, to make sure no one would even think about trying to stop him.
Unbelievable nerve. But the police have his name now. They're closing in. How do they finally get him?
They track him to a new hideout in Mahdi. But they know he's dangerous, that he won't go quietly. They needed a plan that wouldn't endanger civilians.
So the capture itself, it had to be precise.
It was brilliantly done. They used the building's own guard. They had the guard ring the bell first. Elmesiry looks through the people, sees a familiar face, and lets his guard down just for a second.
He opens the door.
Just a crack.
Yeah.
And the police rush him.
And what they find when they get in is the final chilling twist.
It is. He's holding a live hand grenade. He was clearly planning to take everyone with him. And his face, it's wrapped in medical gauze.
Cosmetic surgery.
He'd had surgery to change his appearance and was getting ready to flee the country for good.
And when they finally question him, what does he say? Does he show any remorse?
None. He confirms everything was premeditated, that it wasn't about theft. And then he says, chillingly, that if he hadn't been caught, he would have committed more massacres.
He was executed in 1994.
Which closed the book on the case, but not on the questions.
And that really is the core of it, isn't it? When someone has every single external advantage, the money, the education, the social status, what is that precise toxic combination of neglect, abuse, and entitlement that turns them into someone whose only real goal is to experience killing?
It suggests that all those resources just made him more effective, more dangerous.
Yeah.
His rage wasn't fueled by need, it was fueled by this deeply narcissistic wound from his childhood.
So here's something for you to mull over. When a killer's motive isn't money, but this deep-seated need for chaotic attention and the fulfillment of violent fantasies, what systems could we possibly have to catch someone that intelligent, that wealthy, before those fantasies become a deadly reality?